This is live.
Look at it right there, live. We're doing it live. People, this is how awesome this is. People have been canceling their cable subscriptions just so they can watch this all week long. This is the new thing, and everyone's going to be watching now that we got Ricky Rose on here.
I bet they will be.
This is going to be too cool. So we'll get going. We're just hanging out right now. Once there's that eyeball up there, once it gets some numbers by it, that shows us how many people are watching.
Yep.
So, yeah, these chairs are the squirreliest things you'll sit in. We're going to get to know each other really well before this is over with. So, yep, we'll just let it kind of roll out there. And what's funny is you can go back and watch this later. So you'll hear me talking about why we're not talking, which is like the goofiest thing of all time. But there's 7 of them out there right now. So let's go ahead and kick this one off. Hey, guys, we're back at it again. Booth 3194, National Farm Machinery Show in Louisville, Kentucky. Mike Idle right here representing the Beer Money Pulling Team Group. We're sitting in front of the brand new diesel super stock, the one that Jason Schultz calls the Remedy. We've been unveiling that wrap here at this show. We're talking all things truck and tractor pulling. And we have arguably one of the coolest guests who just rolled through our booth all the way from Minnesota. Nice to have you, sir, Mr. Ricky Rose, driver of the Giddy Up Modified. Ricky, thank you for being with us today. How you doing so far?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. So, Ricky, you've got one of the most recognizable, one of the most fan favorite modifieds out there, and you're doing something, and you've been doing something for a long time that fans really like and really appreciate. We can't just call this vehicle a modified, and we can't just call it an unlimited, because you're not afraid to strap that 4th monstrous motor on there and run back and forth between both classes. What motivates you to want to run both, and do you have one that you prefer running over the other?
My tractor really runs the best in the modified, but when you put the 4th motor on, it's more fierce ride.
It's a lot of horsepower, and it's a big bold machine out there for sure. How many years? We can't not talk about it. We're sitting here in Louisville, Kentucky, right next to Freedom Hall. How many times have you pulled in Louisville, Kentucky?
You're asking a question. I guess I really don't know. It's multiple times. I think we're probably 6 consecutive years right now.
You guys, you know that you're doing something right. You know you've been on a good run when you've pulled at the championship level so often that you've lost track of how many times that you've been here. So your vehicle, it's been dominant over the years, and I want to talk about my first memory of coming to Freedom Hall, and it really ties in with a run that you put. First time I came out here was the Saturday session only of 2020. I jinxed all of pulling that year because that's about the only time we got to go pulling, and you guys had one of the most entertaining runs. You and Craig Corzine both full pulled in 2020 and then had the pull off, both of you guys hitting the sand pile. What was that competition like?
Probably the most awesome hook I ever had in Louisville here. It was fabulous. Tractor ran great, and I wasn't fortunate enough to get to the sand before, so I was determined I was going to get to the sand, and held the throttle open and actually went through the sand and stuck all the sand through my motor. But it was an awesome run. I think we had a spectacular show that year. Fans were really excited about that, and I'm glad they were. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a big year. If we only got one pull and pulling that year, that was the first year they did the duel, the fuel. Same year that the Blade Graves blew the smoke tube, blew the smoke pipe all the way off, and were able to come back and rehook. But it sounds like you've been at the farm show every year since. Congratulations on making it back again in 2024. That tells me that you obviously had a very successful season in 2023. You primarily hooked with the National Tractor Pullers Association. You hooked in TPA. Walk us through how you did in 2023 and both the modifieds and the unlimiteds. How'd you finish in points in both of them? I believe we finished 4th place in the mod. We were off a little bit this year. We had and we still have a few ignition problems. That's our biggest holdback right now.
Sure.
So we're trying to get that under control. Of course, you need to go beyond what expectations are for certain equipment, so it's hard for me to detune on that a little bit, but but we'll get there, and that's what happened Wednesday night. We lost another points box, so hopefully they come along and make a little better equipment on the ignition side. So otherwise we'd been in the finals. We didn't make the finals this year because our motor quit like at 150 feet or something.
It was almost the modified show on Wednesday was almost I don't want to say a changing of the guards because there's still so many hard competitors in that class, but we really did see kind of some new vehicles and some more recent vehicles moving in there. You got to tip your caps to the Simons who've jumped into that class and done a great job with that. And then you're seeing ones like Les Corporal, and you're seeing others like Cameron Neves, who's been here a lot of times but doesn't always make the finals with that 3-engine setup that he's got. And some of those guys like you and Craig Corzine weren't quite able to knock on the door this year. Is that a reflection of just how hard it is to win in this track?
Competition is getting real fierce. I mean, compared to 10 years ago, it's totally different. And
of course,
it's good to have newcomers come in. That gives us old guys more challenge. But we got the equipment to get there. We just got to make sure we keep it together.
Sure. But it's also kind of a story of the more things change, the more they stay the same. When you look over at someone like Bill Leichner and the Dirt Slinger, who's been at Louisville too many times to count, gets to go to the final again. And then you see Mr. Voorhees coming back in the world of modified pulling and debuting that mod. When a guy like Voorhees comes back into it, do you say, hey, here's one of our old buddies and we're glad to see him? Or do you say, oh, geez, how are we going to compete with this guy? This guy's a legend. Where did your heart go when you heard that he was getting back in the world of pulling?
Come and chase me.
I love that response. He says, hey, we've been sitting here right here driving the whole time. We know where to park it. If you remember, you can come chase us. I absolutely love it. What were some of your highlight runs of the outdoor season in 2023? Either runs that you just really enjoyed or some of your big wins or your monster hooks from the 23 season. Which ones did you like the most?
Well, Toma was really good. We swept Toma in the mod deal, which is awesome. And we ran really great during the beginning of the season. We went through a slump and we figured out what was going on. And,
sure.
And we're back up and running strong now. But
good.
We had some things that we thought was top of the line stuff that wasn't really top of the line stuff that we were getting this last summer.
Interesting. So making the adjustments, kind of piecing things together, figuring out what the tractor is happy with. You talk about sweeping at Toma. You're definitely no stranger to winning. This vehicle knows how to put the power to the ground. Toma, Wisconsin, that's a super national pull, the Budweiser Dairyland Super Nationals. Is that a pretty special accomplishment, not only to win there once, but to walk home with a sweep from a pull as big as that?
That's awesome. I mean, we've done that before. We've won Bowling Green, swept Bowling Green too already. I believe back in 17 when I won the national title. But
sure,
yeah, when you can sweep, that's the main thing is when you can go in and sweep a big pull like that.
Definitely.
That is definitely meaning a lot to me and a lot to other people.
And I don't remember which super national pull it's at, and you might be able to help me out with this. It's either at Toma or at Bowling Green. My mind kind of says it's probably Toma, but they give it's like a hardest working vehicle or like a crew of the weekend award that kind of just recognizes the amount of work that goes into behind things. And I think you guys have won that before as well with the, pulling different classes and performing well in both classes. Is that something that you've received, and which pull was that at?
I did receive it. I can't recall if it was a Toma thing or a Bowling Green.
Sure.
I kind of think it was a Bowling Green.
Sure. I can see that.
Yeah, that's quite an honor to be recognized that way because it does do a lot of work. We do a lot of work to run both classes. My boy's running one particular. He likes to run the modified.
Sure.
So we kind of split our duties there a little bit, and I run the unlimited all the time. And
of course.
The unlimited is, like I say, more of a challenge than because it's more of a driving skill in unlimited than it is in the mod.
Yeah, with that class, I imagine it's so much more about putting the power to the ground. You're working with that extra motor on there, and just how do you keep everything hooked and solid and down and not just blowing the tires off? Is it quite a big jump when you do strap that fourth motor on there?
It's a big jump.
It's a big jump.
It's a big jump. Yep. And there's things I can do because when I put my two back motors on, I take my third motor off. That's totally gets parked, and I put two separate motors on the back at that time.
Didn't realize that.
That's built different and got different chargers and everything on. So it is totally different that way, and the torque goes tremendously up, and the driving skill, you have to be so much softer when you're driving unlimited tractor than a mod tractor.
You cannot lose that all important traction back there. So your crew behind the scenes when it comes to preparing, mechanicking, wrenching, even just at the pull, you guys put a lot of work in there. And I can think of several stories and a couple examples we'll talk about. Not only are we going to take an engine off, take a motor off, and then put 2 brand new ones on there. Let's go back to Bowling Green. We had some rear end issues one year, and I think you guys were able to put a completely new rear end in the back of the tractor. Is that right? Am I thinking of the right story here?
Yep. Yeah, we put rear end in and switched our motors all over, and still able to make it to the next session.
Absolutely. Was that one of those where we got to fix it and we got to fix it now? It was all hands on deck.
Well, I've always had a lot of get up and go.
So a lot of giddy up and go.
Well, so it's just something that I grew up working hard with, and people think it's a lot. It is a lot of work, but we got set up in a way that it doesn't really interfere with the performance of the tractor. That's why we put completely different motors on, so we don't change our blowers out or anything like that. It's a complete unit, so things can't go wrong.
For sure. Another interesting story that comes to mind from working your guys' tails off, the only chance I've ever had to go out to Bowling Green, Ohio was in 2018. You were in a drop dead, slugging back and forth points race with the bank robber tractor. And you guys both pushed it all the way to the limit. And it was one of those where you just knew you weren't going to get out of the throttle. And I believe you blew a motor in the afternoon session in the modifieds and still came back and hooked in the unlimiteds that same evening.
Well, there again, you got the extra motors along. It's just a matter of bolting them on. So it's a good thing that, like, I'm probably a little more capable than a lot of people are because I'm set to do that.
Sure. As you've got it there, it's ready to go. You kind of know how you're going to swap things out and move things out. Hooking unlimited modifieds, even just the mods, but jumping up to the unlimited modifieds, oftentimes you have to have really the right track that's going to hold your guys' power. And I can think of some of those really big power tracks, the Chapel Hill, Tennessees, and the Fort Recovery, Ohio's. Is there a track that the tractor seems to be really, really happy with when it's got that fourth motor on? Is there a favorite place to pull?
I'd say Toma works really well for my unlimited, and Chapel Hill works. The first year I decided to pull unlimiteds ever, I went and won Toma. I went and won Chapel Hill, and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. So, and these are super national pulls, so that's got to take a rough estimate. You've been, how many years have you been pulling, first of all?
Well, I've been pulling modified since 1990, but I started pulling in 1982.
So
with pro stock and super stock.
On the modified itself, ballpark guess, how many wins do you have? A lot.
Enough. Well, I shouldn't say enough. You never have enough.
You'll be satisfied when you get one more, right? One more. I'll be given. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you saw him. I asked him that question, and I could just kind of see the edges of his mouth. He started smiling, and that smile tells me everything. Hey, we're Midwestern people. We're humble folk. I'm sure that he doesn't want to gloat on himself, but the smile tells it all. He's obviously had a very, very good career. Said you've been pulling since 1982?
1982.
How'd you get into pulling, and what made you switch from the super stocks and the pro stocks over to the mods?
I just had an opportunity to buy a modified in 1990. So that was my starting point. And then we ran both tractors for half a dozen years, I guess.
Sure.
And then the super stock was not being able to keep up in times, so I decided we'd get out of that and concentrate more on the mod, and that's what we did. That's kind of when we decided to run both classes.
Sure. Let's talk about, I really like talking about pulls and breaking down pulls. Hutchinson, Minnesota. What does that one mean to you? You guys are very heavily involved in that. That's an amazing pull. I went up there in 2013 for the first time. Very different dirt compared to this more southern dirt that I'm typically accustomed to seeing. But that Hutchinson, Minnesota, great pool. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I'm the sole promoter. Me and Julie are sole promoters of that deal. So it means a lot to me. We accomplished a lot there. We actually been promoting pools since the 1980s. So we started regional and state, and then Grand National, I think, is 2010 when we first had our first Grand National. So, and we do a lot of work there. It's a lot of work. I got a lot of friends that help me keep that going, and it's just a great thing. I do it for the state of Minnesota, really.
Sure.
So, because we're the only Grand National in the state of Minnesota.
Yes.
And I like them, the fans and the people in Minnesota know what we do out here. So that's one primary deal. And I just like all the Grand National pullers. All pullers are great, but I love the Grand National circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's well said and well spoken. All pullers are great, but there's always something about climbing yourself up to the Grand National level and just knowing that you're competing with so many great competitors and so much horsepower at every level. And folks, if you've never been to the pool in Hutchinson, Minnesota, put it on your bucket list. This pool is amazing. It's the first place I ever watched mini rods, and man, what a trip that was, watching those about 10 years ago for the first time. Beautiful farm country there in kind of southern or south central Minnesota, and just a top-notch, well-run pool put together by an awesome family. So 2024, okay, we're finished up with Louisville. We're starting to think about the summer season, I'm sure. Where will we see you, and what are some of your goals for this upcoming outdoor season?
Oh, of course, I'm going to be the champion this next year.
I love your responses. So many drivers are, I want to keep it together. We want to load it on the. He says, no, man, we're here to win. I love it. That's a great response.
And we're going to be attending all the NTPA events.
Sure.
I believe that's well for sure. I don't think I've hardly ever missed an NTPA event.
Right.
Instead, I've been broke, but. We'll be there, and we'll be supporting both classes again. And
absolutely.
And I think way the tractor really ran Wednesday night. It really picked that we were able to pick the horsepower back up to where we were previously before I had some downfalls.
So even though things didn't pan out the way that you would have wanted them to on Wednesday night, it sounds like you're happy with some of the data and feedback and feel of the tractor that you were able to see while you hooked here in Louisville.
Yes, it definitely was. It definitely had giddy up and go things.
Giddy. Is that where the name of the tractor comes from?
Kinda.
It says
giddy up and go.
Giddy up and
it's got 3 horses on my fenders, if you didn't know, and each one of them horses represents one motor.
One of the motors.
So when I go unlimited, I'm kind of unplugged there.
You need to get like a sticker or something and put another horse on there. That is awesome. Yeah, it's all about the ponies. We know that for sure. Well, Ricky, before I let you go, is there anybody out there that you need to thank? Anybody you want to give a shout out to while we're doing this interview today?
Well, I'd like to thank all the people that follow me. I know a lot of people come up and talk to me that I don't recognize, because I do talk to a lot of people, but I'm sorry if I don't recognize you all the time. But I'm glad for my fan base, and I'd like to thank NTPA for putting a sanctioned body together like they do, and they got awesome tracks and awesome tractors in their division.
Sure, and, absolutely, yeah. Well known for their track building ability. I would say that's absolutely true.
So just all the sponsors that come, like at my event and all the events.
Of course,
you for sure need sponsors to make this all happen, and I'm just thankful for what all happened in my lifetime.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like it's been a great one, and we're thankful for you for taking the time to do this interview with us. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching us on this episode right here. And Ricky, thank you so much for speaking with us. Have a great rest of your time at the National Farm Machinery Show.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching, guys.